Now, I'm aware that DNF Duel will be coming to Steam in the later future, and if you happen to find this video wondering who I am, hi! I'm the guy who gave out a bunch of lore back in the official YouTube channel for this game. I thought it'd be a good idea just to compile what I've wrote and put them all together in a video, if you guys are into that sort of thing. With that being said, let's do this thing. Berserker is a swordsman afflicted with a curse known as the Kazan syndrome, or better yet known as the Ghost Arm. Those afflicted are essentially put on death row as there is no cure. They will also begin to see ghosts, and they will never leave you alone, as they're bombarded with temptations to slaughter, falling into frenzy till they die, with added benefits of turning them into monster magnets. Fun! So, in order to prevent this, their ghost arms are fastened with chains to stop them from going wild. The Berserker, he simply says, fuck that. I'm gonna use this murderous rage as my strength. If I die, I die. They use their own blood to form weapons and transform themselves into monstrous beings known as Majins. Oh, and they absorb the blood of their enemies to add their own, increasing their chances of already meager survival. The only way for them to get stronger is through metamorphosis, where their bodies and mind literally break and destroy further. Chances of survival are very slim as their blood literally explode out of their bodies. But those that survive the process is a force to be reckoned with. The female striker's lore is pretty vanilla out of all the cast, and she's a martial artist looking to perfect her craft. She also trained and conditioned her body to superhuman levels to stand up against anything. In a world full of swordsmen with ghostly powers, mages, and other oddballs, she was busy hitting the gym. That's right, she got thick because of them gains, and that smile, my god, look at her. She's a cinnamon roll, and I love it. Oh. The Crusaders hail from the Lydia Basilica Grand Cathedral and are the devout followers of Lemidio's, the god of light. Needless to say, they're your buffer healer class, but as evidenced in DNF Duel, they literally bring down the hammer of God itself when it is time to act. They are the kind, gentle protectors of Arad, and they firmly believe redemption in all beings, which leads us right to the Inquisitor, as they are the polar opposites. The Inquisitors are the holy fire and the cold steel of God. Their fanatical belief is their bulwark, and they won't hesitate to bring judgment upon heretics and demons alike. Oh, and they don't tolerate other religions other than their own, so yeah. Heresy, yay! Due to this extreme belief, they kind of butt heads with Crusaders more often. They work in unison to hunt down demons and shit, so I guess their interest has to align somewhere. Oh yeah, and these girls have a habit of burning things alive, as they believe that all people, whether devout or not, will meet their ends in the burning pyres of hell, and are obsessed with martyrdom. As quoted in her awakening skill, yeah, suffice to say, these girls are... You know, now that I think about it, they would fit nicely with the Sisters of Battle in the 40k universe. To talk of the male Grappler is to talk about the gang known as the Black Pearl. You see, Arad's fighters were predominantly female, thanks to one individual's influence, Shannon Meyer. She believed that fighting was a delicate art and refused teaching her techniques to men, and she really hated men. As a response, many dojos catering towards men would pop up, but there are a few that didn't welcome this phenomenon, and that's where the Pearls come in. They would go around these supposed dojos and challenge their masters, and if they beat them, they would have to forfeit their status, wealth, and power, as many of these dojos would often be corrupt, taking what's left from the poor for themselves as protection. That isn't to say that the pearls were saints themselves though, as many would be corrupt and drunk with power. So they're kinda like the outlaws of the martial arts world. He did some good, he did some bad. Those that trained in their style did so in secret, and call themselves, well, grapplers. The Kunoichis are Dark Heaven specialists who utilizes an Nimpo, a combination of chakra, nan energy, and Dark Elven magic. Their origins are a mystery, as there are no clear records of where they came from. Some say they come from a small tribe, some say they come from a secret organization, now defunct. One thing for certain is that they were once highly skilled assassins who eventually grew weary of their former status, and wanted to serve a more higher purpose other than killing. Their skills and expertise would be eventually noticed by the royal families of Shonan, a capital city of Shuju. The royal families recruited these Kunoichis in secret and promised them normal lives, and thus they were elated. Now, they only serve their lord with their lives at all costs. So I want to make a quick apology regarding what I said about Kunoichi's inspirations. I've mentioned this in the comments, but this bears repeating, but yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Of course, I know that this class is based on Japanese ninjas of myths and legends, and I hastily jumped the gun and said that this class was inspired by Naruto. I'm very sorry once again, and I will refrain from jumping the gun like that in the near future. Two revolvers, smell of gunpowder, flick of the wrist, and a little swagger, and draw. The Rangers hail from a place known as the Empyrean, the land of cloud and heaven. More specifically, they hail from the lawless district of Empyrean, where bandits and cutthroat is aplenty. The Rangers are the quintessential romanticists of the Old West. They never miss their targets and always shoot to kill, with the added flair of rule of cool. Having said that though, I was a bit bummed out to find out that the original Korean voice actor behind the male gunner didn't come to reprise his role for DNF Duel. I mean, sure, the new voice actor isn't too bad. They wanted a more younger, cocky sounding ranger, I guess, but when it comes to the male gunner, the original voice does it so much better.
이런 늦을 뻔했잖아. 쇼타임!
어차피 죽을 거라면 도박이라도 해봐야지. 잘 있어, 얼간이들. 운 없는 날 취소. 근데 너무 높잖아. 살려줘.
The Hitman is an Empyrean just like the Ranger, and belongs to a group known as the Company, a former protection group turned mercenaries. They are the masters of swords and guns as well as espionage. Due to this expertise, they were typically hired by the nobles, until they were backstabbed and framed by their employers. The rumors of the company eventually reached the ears of the imperial family, and they wanted to hire them for their services. This was a big no-no in the nobles' eyes, as they feared that their plans would leak. Their plan was to assassinate one of the greatest minds in all of Empyrean, the great priest known as Veldrin. In doing so would prevent the young Princess Edgy, his successor, from ascending the throne and becoming the people's empress, thereby ruling the entire kingdom in their image. Now disgraced and on the run, they eventually came down to Arad as a mercenary group. The Hitman handles various dirty jobs led by their employers, while vowing to restore the company's name to its former glory by becoming its big boss, so that they don't suffer the humiliations of their past. The Demonic Lancer is one of the many tragic characters in DFO, as he's a former battle gladiator picked up from a very young age by the Delos Empire. Yes, the kingdom sounds silly, please bear with it. These young gladiators were gifted with the power to absorb the energy around them, and the Empire had the brightest idea to use them as guinea pigs. Mortal combat was a daily occurrence whether inside the ring or not. You see, Lancers absorbed the will of their fallen opponents, adding their own while empowering their lances. These magical pointy sticks are not really useful to an average Joe, but to a Lancer, well, you can clearly see. Now the Vanguard's gameplay and lore is kinda similar to that of a Berserker. Kinda. as he loves fighting and he loves to bathe in the blood of his enemies, and he's just at the forefront of every battle, hence the name Vanguard. And his fierce mastery over his halberd will tear apart any battlefield he stands on. And here we have the Dragon Knight. Just like with the Grappler, in order to explain who Dragon Knight is, I gotta explain who Knights are as a whole. So Knights are avatars from a being known as Nimir the Enlightened. She is the share of wisdom and has a vast knowledge of the universe and its many multiverses. She then created these knights and scattered them throughout the multiverse to find the fragments of Colosso, the creator god of Arad, and the great wheel of the universe. To simply put, you see these 4 girls right here, they're the same person. So, Knight's lore in a nutshell, the girl who left the dimensions? I'm not kidding, that's her actual title. Dragon Knight, just like her name suggests, come from a world where dragons rule the world and kept the peace until their leader turned tyrant and destroyed everything and yada yada yada. She is the commander of the skies, and with her trusty dragon pal Astra, they have nothing to fear. Look, I'm sorry if I sound really negative throughout the Dragon Knight's lore, but Knight is one of the classes I don't really give a shit about, to be honest, and yeah. Don't get me wrong, she looks fantastic in DNF Duel, and I heard a lot of people have been playing her, but I just don't care about Knight as a whole. Okay, 10 down, 3 more to go. The female gunner is part of the Imperial Royal Guard called the Empress's Gardens. At the age of 5, every girl in Imperium goes through an intelligence and knowledge test. Only the sharpest and the most brilliant minds are accepted. These girls are then put through an endless amounts of discipline and military training in order to become the Royal Guard. Needless to say, these girls are pure grade A military badasses. Now, Imperium is not only rich in history and culture, but they also have advanced technology and science. How they came to be this way is a story for another time. But throughout history, the female mechanics played a vital role in the field, constantly developing and innovating new technology whether in and outside of the battlefield. And here we have the Troubleshooter, whose character lore is very straightforward as the subclass himself, and I mean that. They are a mercenary for hire and demolition experts, who is set to use unheard of strategies to dominate the battlefield. Armed with a crude heavy sword, double-barreled boomstick, and a fuck ton of explosives, these guys can make your problems go away, provided if you have the ample supply of cash and booze. And finally, last but not least,
그럴 필요는 없다.
born and raised in Shuju, the Ghostblade's childhood wasn't so lucky, as he was afflicted with a ghost arm. Therefore, he was seen as a monster to everyone in his village. He was ostracized, and eventually, they tried to kill him. The young boy eventually ran away. But this too did not help him, as he attracted monsters due to his cursed arm. Ghostblade learned that in order to survive, he needed to get stronger. So he learns the way of the sword at a local dojo in Shuju. After learning what he could, he wandered from place to place, tirelessly fending off the horrors that plagued his minds and the beings that attracted them. He fought and resisted until his body and mind can do no more. Elsewhere, a masked ghost, who was once fierce and powerful swordsman, seeks bloody revenge to those that slain them, and is now in search of a vessel strong enough to possess, as many would die due to the immense malice. That was until he found one.
죽기엔 아까운 자로군. 아직도 바둥거리고 있나? 무엇을 위해? 이것 또한 운명인가?
Impressed by the young swordsman's tenacity, the ghost eventually merges his soul with his, thereby making the host stand on the border between man and ghost. This rare occurrence is known as the Ghostman syndrome, where the host is freed from the influence of the Kazan syndrome, effectively curing them, quote-unquote. Their skin would be pale as a ghost, and their features turn ghastly. Their once blood-red ghost arm will eventually turn either transparent or take on a cold blue color, further symbolizing their freedom over its influence. Make no mistake, it is not known whether or not these human hosts have any humanity left, if at all. God dang, I'm being edgy as fuck right now. I'm sorry about that. And with that is a wrap. I tried my very best to adjust and master the audio accordingly, making sure I didn't come up too loud or too quiet. Even more so for the music, I literally went back and forth to adjust the audio in an acceptable range where you can hear my voice and listen to the music in a very clear, concise manner. And also, I caught a cold as the time of this recording, so I've just been muscling through right now with the recording and the video editing and such. And I think it turned out alright, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did making it. And yeah, DNF Duel is a good game. DFO as a whole is a very fun game, despite its many problems. You couldn't tell how much I giggled like a schoolgirl when people were freaking out about the character's awakening skills and neo-awakening skills and whatnot. It put a smile on my face. But with that, I think I'm just gonna go to bed, take a sip of tea, and wait for this cold to go off. Anyways, guys, love you. See you guys next time.